So the Supra boats come standard with 3 plates. You've got your center wake plate, which is the one that we're going to be talking about today, how it's used and what it actually does. And then you've got your swell system plates that are your surf system that are on the outsides. We've had the center wake plate on boats forever. We've had them on there since the 90s, and it is really great plate to do a lot of adjusting. It does a lot of different things now, but that's the one that we're going to be talking about today and how it operates. Everyone uses the wake plates on the boat every time that they go out, but I think that some people might have a misconception of how to use the wake plates or even what they're doing. So I wanted to give an explanation of what the wake plates are doing. So the center wake plate, you've got settings from 0 all the way to 100. And the best way to think about it is that when it's at 0, the plate is up out of the water and it's not doing anything. As you drop it down, 10, 20, 30, now the plate is dropping down into the water. So 100, the plate is all the way down and it's all the way in the water. What that does is basically the opposite of what the numbers would insinuate. So if most people, 100% ballast means the wake's going to be as big as it's going to be. It's kind of the opposite with the plate. So the more plate that you have in the water, the longer and the less steep your wave is actually going to be. So 0 would be the plate's completely out of the water. It's going to be as big and as steep as it's going to get. And then as you add more plate, it's going to lift the back of the boat up a little bit, which is going to cause the wake to get a little bit less steep and longer. Hopefully now you understand how the plates actually operate. So now for a practical use, let's just say that me and my wife are going to go out and do some surfing, and it's just going to be me and her in the boat. So what I'm going to do when I start is, because I don't have a ton of extra weight in the boat because it's just me and her, I'm going to fill up my ballast and all that stuff like normal, but I'm going to start with the plate at 0 because I want that wave to be as thick and as steep as possible to start, so that she's got a ton of push. And then if I see that it's a little bit too big for her, then I'll start to add plate and mellow it out as we go. And the exact opposite would be true if I had a ton of people. Like if I'm taking a large group out, I'm probably going to start with the plate down a little bit more, start with it more around 75 or 100, and then I'll lose plate as I see needed. Because when you've got enough weight and you've got enough people, you want to make that wave as long as possible. But sometimes if you don't have a ton of people in the boat and you don't have a ton of weight in the boat, you may need it to have it be a little bit steeper so that you have that push. So for wakeboarding, similar to wake surfing, you're adjusting the pitch of the wake. So it's going to change the way that the wake shape is just a little bit. It's not as noticeable for wakeboarding, and so the changes are a little bit smaller. And what changes is actually the lip of the top of the wake. So that's why I say that there's a little bit shorter of a range, and there's kind of a sweet spot between 20 and 45 that you want that plate. And a lot of it has to do with your personal preference, and then a lot of it has to do with what rope length and what speed you're riding at. So I would play with it a little bit. 20 is going to make it just a little bit steeper with a little bit more lip. And then as you add a little bit more plate, it's going to take away that lip and make the wake just a little bit flatter. So hopefully that gives you guys a good understanding of what the wake plate's doing when you're surfing or when you're riding. And my advice for the wake plate is don't be scared to try it in a different place. On the Pro Tour, we leave it pretty static. We've got a pretty static setup. We've got the same amount of people in the boat, same weight. Everything pretty much stays the same for all riders. For wakeboarding, we don't really change it at all. Most of the guys just leave it where it is, which is usually around 30. But the wake surfers are constantly having me change it. Each rider has a little bit of different preference. They might want it a little bit steeper. They might want it a little bit more long and gradual. So they're making changes. And when you're on the lake, there's just changes that are happening constantly. Depth of water, wind, all that stuff can affect what's going on behind the boat. And so don't be scared to make some adjustments to your wake plate. It's one of the best tools that you have to be able to make adjustments and change the wake to get it exactly the way that you want it.